And in the studio with us, our regular Bushra Sheikh political commentator, and of course for the first time on this programme, I think, Peter Whittle, director of the new Culture Forum. How are you?
Very well, thanks, Andrew. Carol.
Good.
Yeah,
Peter and I go back many years. You want to talk first of all, don't you?
You've got many years to go back, Piers.
It's true. You want to talk about that barge?
I want to talk about the Bibi Stockholm, because I'm still reading stuff from charities saying that this is cruel and inhumane to put migrants who have come here illegally onto this barge. Now, from what I've seen, it doesn't look cruel and inhumane. It has a TV room, it has a games room, it has an IT centre, it has a medical centre, it has...
Swimming pool.
It has a swimming pool, and
it's like a generation game, isn't it? You have to keep remembering what they've got.
And it has outdoor spaces for basketball hoops. I don't think this is cruel or inhumane.
Yeah. The thing is, I was really sceptical about it, like, initially, and I was like, oh, my God, how are you going to have these people, you know, the human beings on this barge? But the more I read about it, and the fact that they have all these facilities is a really positive thing. For me, I'm just like, how is this going to look and how is it going to work? Because although there are all those facilities, I don't know whether this is a long-term plan. You know, it has to be short-term. So what's going to happen after this, and how are they going to get people on it?
This is supposed to be people who are coming to the end of their asylum applications, and so hopefully it's not going to be long. But the predictions are that people will be there for 18 months, which is a blooming long time, frankly.
I think this is like, and as you were saying, you know, seems like a short-term thing. I mean, the point is, there is no plan, I think. There is no real plan for how to deal with this. I mean, it's a gimmick. Just like I believe Rwanda was actually a gimmick. It was never really going to work.
Do you really think that? I don't think Rwanda was a gimmick. I think Rwanda would be a deterrent. I don't think this barge is going to deter anyone.
But the thing is, Carol, about this, you see, is that there is a lack of will amongst the people who count to actually really deal with this issue.
Well, that's a civil service, entire civil service.
Sort of going around the edges, barges, whether they're very well appointed or not, you know, Rwanda, all of this. The fact is, whether it's illegal or legal migration, I would say, this government has been so pathetic, actually, on this.
And here's the other thing, Bushra. They're telling us that 50 or so are going to move in initially, and the total capacity is 500. It will take several months to get a full 500 in there. Why? Because there are 45,000 migrants in hotels right now, costing us £6 million a day. There are 55,000 in council accommodation, costing the local taxpayers God only knows how much money. Why is it going to take so long?
Because I think the whole process is flawed. We had this discussion before. The fact that even applications are taking so long and we're so backlogged and behind.
One successful application, Bushra, takes 18 months.
It's ridiculous. You know, why are we not, for example, just employing a few more people to get this process working faster, working quicker? This is going to mirror the initial process. That's why it's going to take so long, which is ridiculous, because for me, I'm like, OK, if you're a migrant, this is all your information, let's get you on the barge. It's as simple as that, but yet it doesn't seem as simple.
And, of course, the local people don't want it.
No, exactly.
They really don't want it.
Andrew, local people count for nothing.
Yeah.
In all of these schemes, whether it's hotels or barges or whatever it is, what they think about it counts for nothing with the government. And the problem is, do they realise how angry people are now getting about it?
You know, I have a lot of connections with Dorset, and I'm down there a lot, and I see the people in Weymouth. They're angry, they're really angry. And I heard one councillor the other day saying, you know, that there are people in that area who cannot get a doctor's appointment for love nor money, and yet these guys are coming, and they are all guys, they are all young single men. They're coming, and they have a health centre on board with doctors and nurses on tap, plus they all are going to be registered with the GPs in the area, which means local people will yet again be shoved to the back.
Oh, yes, local people. Also, a massive homeless problem we've got. People, our veterans, sleeping rough, all of this. And yet people read this and they sort of think, well, why don't you get a barge and, you know, put our veterans on it, or homeless, or something or other? Why is there always a priority for so-called illegal, asylum seekers? I agree with you. 90% men. The official narrative is that this isn't the case. You have to almost pretend that you're not seeing what you're seeing in the news.
We can see it for ourselves.
Where are the women and children?
There was one local councillor said, and he said that one of the reasons the local people are angry is because these guys are coming and they have bus trips hourly every day paid for to go into town. They're not being asked to do any work. They're not being asked to contribute. And they're saying, you know, there's lots to do in Dorset. Pick up a bit of litter, sort the roads out, weed a few gardens, pick some fruit, loads of things to do. But yet they're going to be on that boat all day, or going around the local area, having a nice old time with outings arranged by the local council.
Harold, but that's also because they're not actually allowed to work. So they're not allowed to work.
Yeah.
So that, for the migrant itself, is incredibly frustrating. See, what we saw after COVID was the neglect of local British families. And what we saw was that because we're not prioritising them, and we still have to have these migrants come in and give them some type of opportunity, people are feeling like they're not being looked after. If communities were looked after, I think they'd have less of an issue.
And they shouldn't. I wouldn't pay them a wage because they're getting paid board and lodge.
Yes,
so
of course,
in return for their board and lodge, they can do some of the work that, we say, some British people refuse to do.
Yes,
What is very telling is that the whole bill for housing, illegal migrants and all the rest of it at the moment is more than the government's so-called levelling up budget.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, this is extraordinary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I just simply don't know why they just don't turn the boats back.
Yep.
Well, yes, that's
I'm with you there.
We have to move on. We have to move on.
Now we want to move on. You've chosen a story from the Telegraph about
Woke banks.
Woke banks.
Come on, tell us all about them.
So apparently 3 more banks have been closing accounts and have closed accounts due to particular political views and the views that their clients have. Now, this is interesting for me because I was discussing this over the weekend, and I knew of banks closing accounts down, right? But we just didn't know why they were doing it in the past. I presumed and just assumed it was because of laundering of money, fraudulent activity, and I'm totally against this. You cannot be closing any accounts down for the particular views that you have, and there has to be some level of basis and decency for people to have a bank account in this country. I mean, for me, it's ridiculous.
So which of these 3 banks now, which we can add to the list, are Coutts?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure which those 3 banks are.
Did
you know what the
we'll check
banks?
while we're talking. But it is outrageous. We had Nigel Farage on earlier.
Yeah.
He's not letting this go. He's the trigger for all of this.
Yeah.
And he actually said the government, for once, has pulled its finger out. They are on the case, and they are writing to banks saying, you can't do this, you've got to be transparent, you've got to give people notice before you close a bank account, and give reasons.
Yes, exactly. Well, the point is that Nigel's done everyone a service by this, actually, because this has been going on for a while. The point is that, all of our institutions, that includes banks, have been essentially captured by a kind of woke ideology. That's what it is. I mean, when you look at that dossier that he produced, which was quite extraordinary, the things that were said, for me, that was a resigning issue straight away for the chairman of that bank.
She's still there. She's still there.
She's still there. And I think it's because they are surrounded by people who think the same way that they do.
Yeah.
And they think, oh, this disgusting man. But really, what I found surprising about this, and actually a bit depressing, is the number of people who say, oh, well, just don't have... You hear this on Twitter. Oh, well, you shouldn't just have those views then.
Well, that's outrageous.
Then you won't have your bank...
The other financial institutions, by the way, it's Metro Bank, which is, of course,
Yorkshire
the new bank,
Bank.
the People's Bank, Yorkshire Building Society and American Express.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
It's outrageous.
And, I mean...
Well, they could... You could be next, Peter,
Well,
because weren't you a Brexit Party MEP?
Not an MEP, no. But
you
I was
supported
in the
the
London
Brexit
Assembly,
Party.
with Mr Khan there.
Yeah.
But also because I run a think tank as well. Yes, we do keep an eye on it. We think, we might get a message one day. And if we do, saying, oh, we're closing your account, or it hasn't happened yet, if we do, I'll be straight on your show.
Yeah,
But the thing is, the banks are monitoring our social media accounts. I mean, it's amazing you and I haven't lost our accounts already.
We might have when we get off the
Well, we might have,
Yeah. And this
It is, because that's the point. It's not about just the fact Nigel Farage is a well-known, contentious politician. It could be any of us.
Yeah, it can. The thing is, when I'm going to talk about Nigel, I've got this annoyance where I feel like people don't voice the issues until it happens to them, and I did tweet about it because this has been happening for so long. But because they don't have a public platform, because they don't, their voices don't get heard. So I was a little bit frustrated because I thought regular people have this done to them all the time, and it isn't until you have the platform that something can be done. However, saying that, I think it's the transparency. The banks are never transparent about what and why they do it.
Until Farage, a lot of people didn't realise how they could find out about it with these special request things. A lot of people didn't know that. They just had to take it. Now they don't, thanks to him.